Finding a partner who you want to be in a longer-term relationship with can be totally intimidating. There's so many weirdos out there. Swiping right or left seems oddly disconnected. So how do you find Mr. or Mrs. Right? In this episode, we talk about how to not end up in the same kind of relationships that have failed in the past. How to be super attractive and not in the way that you might be thinking. And how to find someone who will actually help you be your best self alongside of them. And after the discussion, we get to the most important part. The group frequency calibration associated with this episode is where the frequency work happens and where change actually occurs. So be sure to listen to that. Without releasing distortion patterns targeted by the GFC, the change you want will be more difficult to attain because you haven't addressed the root of the issue. If you like this episode, please help us out by hitting the like button and sharing it with someone you know who could really use it right now. My name is Karen Cheong, and today in Mastering Your World Through Frequencies, we're discussing the right kind of attractive, finding Mr. or Mrs. Right.
When we found our perfect men, I think we got jammy, really, at the time. And, that finding Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, is there such a thing as a secret recipe? And where are tips that we should watch out for?
Yeah.
Because when I think back, there were certain conditions that I had.
Totally.
Even though the magic was there,
Yeah.
there were conditions that I had for me to move into a relationship with this person.
Yeah.
What do you think those conditions would be like?
Yeah.
For
What are you
in
looking
an
for?
Ideal partner that has the perfect frequency resonance.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah.
For you and your growth.
Yeah.
What would you say those points or conditions would be?
Yeah. So kind of like, what are you looking for when you're looking for Mr. and Mrs.
Or
Right?
what to watch out for?
Yeah,
or,
totally.
Pay attention to.
Yeah. And so I have 8 things
Yeah.
to look out for because they inform not just the initial, like, I'm in with chemistry with you and it feels really good and there's a lot of passion and that's amazing. This is about creating a long-term relationship or entering into a long-term relationship. And as you said, I've been with Chris now for almost 30 years and I think you and
Almost
Gary.
the same, yeah, 25.
25, yeah. So long-term relationships. So the number one thing, if you're looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right, is first to love yourself. And I know that sounds potentially cheesy, but it's actually really critical because
It's like a hallmark.
yeah, it does. It sounds like love yourself.
Love yourself. Yeah, let's really do it from the frequency work, Karen Cheong perspective. What do you actually mean by that?
Yeah. So what I mean by that is to get to the place where you've released enough of your distortions that you feel at ease with yourself and you're happy with yourself. So you don't need someone to give you love. You're actually really content and happy to be on your own. It doesn't mean that you can't have joy or happiness or love from someone. It just means like with yourself, you're happy.
Yeah, and could I add in there as well that you're not seeking outside validation
That's right.
for your worth?
Yes.
So when you say love yourself, it's not about, look in the mirror, I love me, I'm so wonderful. I'm not belittling it, but that doesn't cut it.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
Yeah.
To get to that core, like you say, these distortion patterns, which are?
Yeah. So the distortion patterns are they're blocks, whether on the unconscious or the conscious level, which is really at frequency level that causes you to get stuck in the same place over and over again. So some people get really stuck in relationship. They can't seem to find that person even though they've been looking for them. And so when you start to release these distortion patterns in yourself that are heavy, you start to vibrate at a higher rate, which makes you much more attractive.
Right.
And it also makes you happier with you. So if you have these patterns, which a lot of people have, of non-worthiness or non-deserving of love, this fundamental question, like, am I lovable? That's a really heavy, dark question for some people. They really struggle with that. So they seek other people to answer that question because then they are lovable.
Yes.
But really, it's about releasing the distortions so that you love you.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I'm not saying that you every day wake up and look in the mirror and you're like, I'm amazing. You know, it's not like that, because I mean, you're human and you're gonna have your days. But within yourself, you know that you are amazing.
Yeah.
You know, that you have the inner strength to overcome and transcend, that you are lovable. And maybe today you're feeling a little crunchy, or you're feeling a little cranky or impatient. It's maybe not your most glorious moment, but generally speaking, you like yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's being, like for me, if I was to bring it back to how I understood it for myself, it's being able to look in the mirror, I guess, and see, okay, maybe I've got a bit of a distorted idea of myself today, but that's okay too.
Yeah.
I accept that about myself.
Yeah.
I love that about myself. I'm just having one of them days.
Yes.
It'll pass.
Yes.
And I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That kind of self-love.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And you know that you look in the mirror and you see all the messy, like you just said, because we all have it. I mean, like, who doesn't look in the mirror and doesn't see the messy? I mean, come on, it's there. I don't care who you are. But it's also to see the wonderful things about you. You know, the strength about you, your kindness, your warmth, your generosity. All those things that make you you and make you wonderful are there too. So it's weird when you have these patterns, these distortion patterns, you don't really see that. All you see are the things that are flawed.
Yeah. And you look at everybody else and think everybody else is better.
Yes.
And I found that when that stopped, I had an indication of, okay, I'm getting somewhere towards being lovable to myself now,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to really look into that, because some folk misunderstand that whole concept of you have to be able to love yourself.
Yes. Like you have to be perfect in order to love yourself.
Exactly.
But you don't have to be perfect.
No.
It's just about accepting who you are in your humanness.
And find it funny.
Yeah.
You know, for me, that helps. I just laugh at myself. It's like, really? Okay, we're going to do it. Let's have a day of that then.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that as you release your distortion, what's amazing is that you start to gain distance from your thoughts and your emotions. So if you have one of those pissy pants days that we all do, or like a craptastic day, you have the distance to laugh at it.
Yes.
To be like, okay, this is what happened today, you know, or this is how I messed up. Okay, great. You can kind of laugh at yourself and you're like, and I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, and I'd love to feed into that as well. And if this bothers you and you're upset by that, well, I'm sorry, I'm not here to make you feel better.
Yeah.
This is where I'm at right now. I'm not spilling it onto you.
Yeah.
I'm just having to process whatever's being processed. I'll come right.
Yeah.
But I give myself permission to be this way.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully laugh at it. And later on, I'll come back to you and say, oh, sorry, it wasn't my best moment, but hey, this is me.
Yeah,
you know?
And I think you're right, because self-love in part is about personal responsibility. You know, it's to take ownership of your stuff. And in relationship, that's really important, because you know, a lot of times in our culture, we think that the other person is going to make us happy, fix us, make us right. It's not their job. And it's really a heavy burden that you place on them. Because the thing is, really, if you can't make yourself happy, how do you expect them to? It's impossible.
Exactly.
So really, it's about taking personal responsibility for those moments, like you said, where you're like, okay, well, that clearly wasn't my best. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, you know, overly control you in that moment, or whatever, tell you what to do, or you should do that, whatever it was that happened. And I apologize for that. And I will be mindful not to do that again. Or, you know, you just do your best.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and I think that leads into the number two thing that I would look for is, you know, can you really be comfortable being yourself?
Yeah.
You know, it sounds so silly, you know?
I'm laughing. Because you know what I'm going to say.
No.
I mean, can you fart in front of him? Can you pick your nose in front of him?
Yeah.
I mean, in it, it's crass right now, but hopefully there comes a stage where, because you have found the right person for you, that these things are going to happen. It's human.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, I've watched different friends where they won't do that in front of the person that they're trying to impress, or they won't even order certain things because they want to appear a certain way for that person.
Wait, what? They won't
order like at a restaurant. Like they won't order certain dishes because they don't want to be perceived a certain way. But the thing is, you know, if you're really looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right, at some point they're going to see who you are, and it's better to do that sooner rather than later, because you can determine if you want to be together. Because the thing is, like, if you're only eating a salad and you really freaking just want the steak, just order the steak and the freaking French fries with an extra side of mayo, which is what I would do. You know, just eat. Like, my point is, how comfortable are you with them? Now, the thing is, it's not just about them.
No.
That's about the self-love that we were just talking about.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, if you can't be yourself, who you really are, and you have to hide, I mean, you don't want him or her finding you in the food cupboard scoffing at 2 o'clock in the morning, because all you ate all day was a salad.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, I think that the more you are yourself, your person is going to find what you do really amazing.
Yeah.
Just like, she just ate that. That's awesome. And if he doesn't like it, perfect, because then he's probably not the right person for you.
Exactly.
I'm not saying you should go to a buffet and like tear down the buffet or anything like this, right? I'm just saying, like, it's just a little example of like, can you be comfortable with this person? Because if you can't, at some point, your facade is going to break.
It is.
And for some women, it's not until they get married, and then all of a sudden the facade breaks, and that's kind of terrible. Don't wait that long. Just can you be comfortable with this person?
Yeah, it's
that's like
indications you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
These are the indications that, yes, you are still at this point with the right person.
Exactly.
And in the reverse, like, so we have to love ourselves, they have to love themselves.
Yeah.
We have to be able to be ourselves, they have to be able to be themselves.
Absolutely.
So when we're with them, so we're being really comfortable, we're eating what we want. So we're watching them, and how do we know when is there any signs that we look for when they're being themselves?
So my third tip is you gain a lot of wisdom from watching how someone is with other people. So it's like, you've just met and you're trying to impress each other, you're doing that little dance, The thing is, he or she is going to be a certain way with you because just like you're trying to impress each other, especially if there's chemistry, right? There's a certain outcome that we're moving towards, potentially depending on the person and what that outcome is. But my point is that if you watch how they are with other people, that will tell you a lot about who they truly are. So how do they treat the waiter? How do they treat the cab driver? How are they with the person who holds the door open for you at the hotel? How are they with, whomever, like the person on the street, the grocery store bagger, their friends? How are they on the phone with them? All that stuff informs you as to who they truly are because we're relational beings. We have relationship with all kinds of people. And how they are with all those people who they're not trying to impress will tell you a lot about who they really are.
Oh, yeah. We won't go to the mother.
Yeah, I know. There's this common weird wisdom. It's like if you want to know a person, it's like for women, if you want to know what a man is like, look at his relationship with his mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what you're going to see is a whole pile of distortion.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's super accurate.
Yeah.
However, how he is with, or she is, with the various people who, they know or know less is very indicative of who they are.
Yeah. And I also think that's a conversation, right? Because let's just say the partner you're with has this phone call with the mother or the brother or the sister. And they come off the call and they can openly discuss, oh, hey, we have this weird pattern and I'm still right? I mean, that's a great indication.
Yeah, totally.
Or are they always a victim to?
Yes.
Yeah,
you can really
relationship.
Yeah, you can really see it. And I think that leads into point number 4, which is, can you be friends with them?
Can you be friends with this person
that you're
checking out?
Yeah, exactly. Can you be friends with them? Because the thing is, how you and I have both been in our relationships for a long period of time, and at least for me, and I think for you, like your partner is your best friend.
Oh yeah.
And it's and people say this all the time. The passion dies and all that stuff. It doesn't. First of all, it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
And secondly, that friendship is the thing that is, to me, the foundation of that relationship.
Yeah.
Like if he or she isn't your buddy and one of your best buddies, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
Because in that friendship implies a lot of things, like how you treat each other. Do you trust each other? Can you be yourself with each other? Do you have each other's backs? Like all of that is implicit in friendship, And a lot of people just think of this person that they're courting potentially to see if they're Mr. and Mrs. Right. They're looking at them at the lens of like, are they the one? I'm like, forget the one. Can you be friends with this person?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's even in that phrase itself, are they the one?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
It's so much pressure.
Yeah. I mean, can I be with this person for a long time? When am I going to have fun? Or whatever your requirements are.
Yeah.
You know, am I going to have fun? Can I be myself? Can I just be my silly self? You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
Can I eat whatever the heck I want to eat?
Yeah.
Can I make really loud burps?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever your requirements are, that's really what it is. It's not the one.
Yeah.
Because I think that's charged, that
It's
phrase.
so charged, and it has so much pressure, and everyone's, and implicit in it is this like really ridiculous notion that there is only one person for you.
Yeah.
And if you miss that one person, you're screwed into eternity because you'll never find the one. Like, you've screwed it up. You've
missed
messed
the
it
boat.
up. You've missed the boat. Or if you're with somebody, you're like, maybe they are the one. So you put up with all this crap. Right? Because you're like, well, what if they're the one? And then I leave and I've missed the one. It's ridiculous.
That brings me back to another point.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's lots of people will seek outside opinion on this.
Yeah.
And usually it's psychics or clairvoyants or,
Yeah.
you know, guru type people. And they say, well, that person, you're meant to be with them. And they totally ignore their inner guidance.
Yeah.
And put it all on this, well, we have to be together because the guru said that we're a perfect match.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
what?
Yeah, it's really strange. So let me just clarify this for everybody, just make it super clear. There are many the ones. There are many people that you could have a shared long-term relationship with. The question is, what is the quality of the experience that you'd like to have with them?
Yeah, that's
And
perfect.
can you grow with them?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, because I think it comes right back to your point one. The
Yeah.
only person in relationship really worth investing that much amount of energy into is yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Because it dictates everything.
Right. Okay, so how many points have we done?
I don't know. I think we're on 5.
5, okay.
So 5, to your point, this is another elaboration of what you said, which is, can you be aware of their quirks and be okay with it?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, like, we're human. We all have these little weird things that we do, and we just do them.
Yep.
Okay? And we may not be proud of them, or they might not even be a problem for us.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't even notice that they're a thing.
Yeah.
You know? And then, but the other person is like, that is so annoying. Like, whatever you're doing is so annoying. But it's funny, it's, you know, this is going to sound terrible, but when I was in my early 20s, because I'd come out of a relationship that was really painful for me, I was just like, I'm not doing that again. I was so decimated by it, and I had so little self-worth by the end of it. I was like, no, I need to be by myself, come back to myself. So I know who I am, and I'm going to find someone where their quirks I'm totally okay with.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I was doing that, but I literally would be like I'd, we'd be at dinner, and I'd be listening, and I'd be watching, and all that sort of stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, that's going to bother me in about 8 months from now. The whatever he just did, or the way that he was really self-serving, or the way he was rude to the waiter, or the way that he was whatever, talked like really derogatorily about somebody.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's going to bother me.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the thing was.
Yep.
And when I met Chris, we went out on a couple dates, and I was like scanning, and I was like, huh, okay, these are the little things, they really don't bother me. Okay, we'll go on and see if I can find a couple more. So we went a couple more dates. I'm like, they really don't bother me. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you're saying.
So it's sort of like, because it's funny when you first meet somebody, those quirks are like super endearing, potentially for some people, like, oh, it's so cute that he's always late, or it's so cute that he whatever. And then it's the
15 years later,
you're always late. I hate it. Or whatever the thing is. So find the quirks.
Yeah.
See how you are with them.
Yeah. And I think, like you're saying there, some of these quirks, they're negotiable.
Oh, totally.
Right? And that's part of the whole relationship as well, with trying to find somebody that you can grow with. Will they come to the party?
Yes.
And will they be happy to, okay, let's find an equilibrium here that works for
Yes.
both of us? you
Yes.
know?
And that's perfect, because you're segueing right into number 6, which is, can you have a difficult conversation with them?
Yeah.
Now, I remember when I asked Fiona this before, originally, she's like, do you mean difficult conversation like I have an STD? Or do you mean another kind of difficult conversation? So just to clarify what I mean by difficult conversation. So what I mean by emotionally difficult is like a conversation where it's, especially when you don't know them that well, that it's safe to have a conversation where it's like, hey, something you said really bothered me the other day, and I'd like to unpack why, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Or this situation happened, and how you treated them, or what happened, what unfolded, kind of like has been bothering me. Can we talk about it? So it's like, it's not easy to bring up those types of situations. especially when you're new.
Yeah.
You know, you're just like, is it safe to have this conversation? Because the fear is that if you have that kind of conversation, then the person's going to leave.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, number one is so important.
Yep.
Because honest to God, when you start to get to the point that you've cleared enough your distortion and you are happy with yourself, it is okay if they leave. I'm not saying like you're callous and you don't care and you're cold, but it's like you don't need them to give you love because you love you.
Yeah.
And so if they leave, I mean, will you be sad? Of course. Will you grieve it? Yes, but you will get over it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, part of that, like coming back to the number one point, is part of that self-love is having boundaries, right?
Yes.
And, you know, firm boundaries that like, no, that is not good for me.
Yeah.
I will not compromise on this.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
And what you can compromise on, you know,
Exactly.
learn that before you even enter into
Yeah.
another relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I had somebody that they really liked this person, and everything matched except for, and he was a great kisser,
Oh.
right? And the passion between them was amazing, but he had at times bad breath. And she's,
Stop.
how do I have that kind of conversation?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, she did. In the end, she had the conversation, and the guy was shocked. He was like, oh ma, I didn't even realize. Oh, okay, yeah, I might get the dentist. He was more than happy and willing to come to the party to fix this because I mean, it was a mutual thing that was happening.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
And that broke the ice, and it meant that, right, future conversations were a lot easier.
Yes.
That kind of conversation. Well, actually, your perfume stinks. Could you stop wearing it, please? You know?
Yes, and that has happened a lot because I have a friend who's really sensitive to smell.
Yeah.
And he'll date certain women, and he'll be like, I can't stand it. Like, I want to be sexually attracted to this person, but the smell is so overpowering to me because his sense of smell is so strong.
Yeah.
I can't actually get past it. I'm like, you have to tell her.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
Or she's going to take it really personally, like there's something wrong with her. But really, it's just that you're allergic to her perfume.
Yeah.
Right? So perhaps share with her that you have a really sensitive sense of smell, and it's really amazing she has a signature scent. And perhaps we can find a different one, or maybe she doesn't wear it on the days that you have intimacy.
Yeah,
for
because she's
example.
probably putting it on more when she's dating him. You know, it's like,
Exactly.
okay, he really likes this. I'll put a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh my God, I am dying. And actually, that's a deal breaker for him. I'm like, if it's a deal breaker for you, you have to say it now.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Exactly.
So the other thing that I want to say is, how are they, first of all, is it okay for you to fight with each other?
Yeah.
And can you make it through the fight? So I say this because, let me just tell you, that yes, this is the beginning, but the thing is, how you are with each other when there's conflict, because there is going to be conflict.
Yeah. Human.
You're human. That has to do with the difficult conversation, like how comfortable are you with him, or do you feel safe? Now, I don't mean that you necessarily need to like rage at each other and like go at each other, but you know, there's a point where there's conflict and there's no resolution. How are you with each other in that situation? Can you both be like, okay, all right, I'm really angry right now, I'm really upset, I'm gonna remove myself from you and go be with myself to like see how I am.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna come back, having sorted myself through, and we're gonna, if we can, I'd love to have a discussion.
Yeah.
But like, can you handle like a fight, so to speak? You know what I mean? And at the beginning, the fight is gonna seem like really horrifying. And I'm not saying that they're pleasant, but you know what I mean? It's like charged, and people get angry and sensitive. And what's amazing about this is if you get through your first fight and you both can take responsibility for yourself and what it is that charged you in the first place, it creates such a foundation of trust and safety. Because now when I come back to you and I say, hey, you know, this thing that happened, it makes those difficult conversations easier.
Yeah.
It really has bothered me, and I've been thinking about why. Do you think we can talk about it? Now it's safe.
Yeah.
Because you've both been able to go to that place of conflict, not just like throw blame and anger and whatever at each other, but been like, okay, how are we gonna work through this together?
Yeah. 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 I mean, and sometimes it can be yelling and shouting until each person realizes, wait, hang on. Oh, I need a bit of space here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like you say, that's what I think, again, when it comes back to the self-love and boundaries and making sure that truth and honesty and integrity is in there. Right?
Totally.
like being able to have them honest conversations, that's when you're in that place where you can walk away and say, I need to come back. I'll come back, but I need to be with myself first.
Yeah.
And the other person's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing is, you know, when you have your first disagreement or your first difficult conversation, it's to watch to see how the other person responds.
Yeah.
Right? And can you help each other through those processes? And to watch to see if the person, because for example, can they meet you where you want them to meet you? In the sense, can they learn? So let's just say you've met somebody and they haven't done a lot of inner work. Let's just imagine.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to introspect yet. And they don't know how to like figure things out. And they don't know how to like take that kind of personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Are they open to learning how to do that?
Yeah. Exactly.
And if they give it a go the first time and they're a little like not sure what the hell they're doing and they're angry, which makes it harder, are they willing to give it a go?
Yeah.
Right? And so the thing is, because some people can't. Some people can't do that. They're not willing to.
Yeah.
They don't want to.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. It's just
It has
them.
to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
If that person cannot do it or isn't willing to or doesn't want to or won't for whatever reason, you have to ask yourself, is this really my Mr. or Mrs. Right?
Yeah.
Because if they're not willing to learn, like, look, we're all imperfect, we're all learning, we're all at different stages.
Yeah.
But if they're not willing to even be open, it's a big red flag for me.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
If the person I'm choosing to spend my life with can't see where their part in it is or was, for me, there's no hope.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, if they can't see it and they want to see it, that's different.
That's different.
But if they really genuinely can't see that they're part of the problem as well, then where are you going to go with that?
Yeah, nowhere.
There's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go.
You know, you've just hit a brick wall.
Yes. It's like you're sitting at a table trying to have a relationship and no one's sitting with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like an empty chair. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm not really sure how to have a conversation with nothing.
Or there's a plate of spaghetti bolognese in front of them and it's right there and you're saying, but there's a plate of spaghetti bolognese right in front. No, there's not. No, I don't see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do with that one.
No, there's nothing you can do. It's insurmountable.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, so where are we at now?
We have one left.
One.
So number 8 will probably, I'm not exactly sure how to word number 8 actually. And it has to do with to not get caught up in the attraction. And
the shiny?
Yeah, the shininess of the person. So you know how we talked about in the beginning of a relationship, you have all these like, you know, this chemistry happening. You're like sweaty and the heart's fluttery and the stomach's fluttery.
Oh, I've got one. Because I didn't even see Gary. I just heard the accent straight away. I mean, I was like, oh. and then the blue eyes and then, and then I had to figure out, well, wait, what's behind all that?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what I mean by it. To not get so swept up in the chemistry and the like things that attract you to him, right?
Yeah.
So for me, for Chris, it was his hands.
Right.
I was like, oh, you're really nice
How
hands.
big are your hands?
His hands and his big green eyes. And I was just like, oh, it's really cute. Okay.
Okay. Oh, right. Let me bring this in.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Are we doing it now? So the last point, I think, is actually kind of critical as well, right? So we've established that number one important thing is self, relationship with self, and loving self enough that you can still look in the mirror and love yourself even when you're having one of them days.
Yes.
And you know what your boundaries are and you're not willing to compromise on the fundamental boundaries that help you to keep that love for self.
Yeah.
Right? So let's talk about when you first meet that person, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many people you could meet that you could go, oh, he's the one, you know, or she's the one. And then you're the glamour and the shininess and the fun and the chemistry and the passion, and you think you're in it.
Yeah.
And you're kind of in it, and you're still in it, and you're getting beaten up.
Yes.
Or he's sleeping with somebody else, or she's sleeping with somebody else. And what happened?
Yes.
You right?
So what I would say is that when you're in the very beginning, especially if you're really attracted to somebody, it can be really hard to come back into your center because all of you is like focus on the other person, right? Because of all this chemistry that's happening and like, as you said, this what they're presenting as themselves.
Yeah.
It's really important, especially if you're the type of person who has like tons of chemistry with people. You're like, boom, right?
Yeah.
That comes in and it's like really intense. Is it too much for you to come, like, is it so much that you can't come into your center?
Yeah.
And then know whether those boundaries that you talked about are
Yeah.
being violated.
Yeah.
Because I've watched friends and acquaintances where they're really, 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 really hyper attracted to the person. And they'll do anything for that person, you know,
Yeah.
for like scraps of attention or time or whatever, and they completely lose themselves.
Yes.
So the thing is, if it's like that kind of crazy chemistry, ask yourself all the time, can I come back into my center? Can I be aware of my boundaries? And if you can't, ask yourself if this is a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Because a lot of women and men will do all kinds of terrible things because they feel like they want that passion, that like chemistry, that, you know what I mean? That thing that feels so great in that moment. And then if the other person like treats them poorly, it can be really devastating.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard to recover from that.
Yeah.
So that would be my 8th point, although it sounds like a downer, it isn't, because it's about, can you hold within yourself the integrity of you?
Yeah. Can you say no?
Can you say no? It's like, yeah, I can feel all this crazy chemistry, and I know if I'm engaging in this, I'm going to lose myself, or it can get like, I'm going to start to feel bad if you don't pay attention to me, if you don't call me, if you don't whatever. You know, it gets really, and it's like any kind of attention they throw at you, you're like, oh, okay, I'll just take that. I'm like, because I've been in that position too.
Yeah, me
and
too.
your low self-worth can just go nuts because it's like your worth is based on this tiny amount of attention this person is going to give to you.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't last
Yeah.
because, or it turns into a very abusive relationship. That's kind of what happens.
And like you said, you know, if it doesn't serve you, like coming back to the number one point, you know, if your self-worth is being crushed by this, get out.
Yeah,
You
get
know,
out.
just get out. That's it. Don't even hesitate.
Yeah.
And do whatever you need to do to break that connection.
Yeah.
But just get out. you
Yeah,
know?
totally. And a lot of people will be like, well, I have this much chemistry because it's my twin flame, which is back to that one thing that we talked about. Look, if you were really your twin flame, honestly, or she were your twin flame, they wouldn't be treating you like this.
Exactly.
So if you're looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right, you're looking for someone who honors you,
Yeah.
okay? Who can see your flaws, can support you as you go through them, and you the same for them.
Yeah.
It's like you're not trying to meet the perfect person.
Yeah.
It's not about perfection. It's really about, can you find somebody who wants a similar growth trajectory as you?
Yeah.
And can you be you and love you in that relationship?
Exactly. I think we should end it there.
Yeah.
That's perfect ending.
And for those of you who would like to release some of those distortion patterns of low self-worth, which keeps you from having that relationship that you yearn for, then I highly recommend that you listen to the GFC meditation associated with this episode. And if you know somebody who could really use this information, please share this video with them.
We're about to start the Group Frequency Calibration, or GFC, where we actually do the frequency work and where change is catalyzed. To get to the GFC, click on the square that'll appear to the right or the link in the description below. It's time to bring in a new experience, a new consciousness, and a new world. Let's rise together.